gonna want to listen to this story, but trigger warning, I advise do not watch this in the dark or at night or sitting alone in your bed, because it will freak the shit out of you. This man goes to sleep with his wife and they're sleeping in bed, and around 3 o'clock in the morning he was woken up to this noise, and it sounded like the front door, like somebody was trying to like scruff or trying to get in through the front door. It has one of these front doors, when the door shuts it automatically locks and you have to have the keys to get back in the house. I actually have a front door just like this. So the first thing he does, he gets his phone and he opens the Ring doorbell app. And when he's looking at the camera in the app, he sees his wife is outside and at this point it was 3 o'clock in the morning, it was freezing cold, and she was standing there shivering, trying to get in the house. But his wife is laying next to him. So he turns over to this person who is laying in bed with him and he shines a torch on her, and it is his wife. His wife is actually there and she's sleeping, she's fast asleep and she's fine. He checks the Ring doorbell app again and he's so confused because this woman looks just like his wife, but it's not his wife because his wife is laying next to him in bed. So he approached the front door, and at this point he's thinking maybe it's a burglar or maybe it's somebody pretending to be his wife to trick him so they can get in the house. He does not open the door, but he shouts out, "Who is it? Who's there?" And this woman replied, "It's me. I've left my keys in my bag and I can't get in. It's freezing. Can you please open the door and let me in?" He froze because this woman sounded just like his wife. The exact same accent, same annotation. This woman literally was a photocopy of his wife. He replies, "Hold on a minute," and dashes back to his bedroom. To his wife? He shakes his wife awake, and of course when she wakes up she's really groggy, she's really tired, and he's like, "You need to see this." Shows her the Ring doorbell and this woman standing out there, and she's like, "Oh, when was this recorded?" He's like, "No, this video is a live video. This is happening right now." Explaining to her, he just spoke to this woman who looks and sounds exactly like her, his wife, and she said to him that she wants to come inside and she's freezing and that she just forgot her keys in her bag. So she ends up going downstairs. She's tired, she's pissed, she does not believe him. She opens the curtains and immediately shuts them as fast as she could because she's like, "What the hell? That is me." Both look at each other and they decide to speak to this woman outside. So the husband calls out, "What's your name?" And this woman outside replied with his wife's full name, including her middle name. He then asks, "What's your birthday?" And she gets it correct. He then even asked, "What do we have for dinner tonight?" And she replied what they had for dinner, plus saying that he cooked it, which was true. So the wife inside the house at this point is trying to control herself. She is freaking out, and the husband reaches over to her and says, "Ask it something only you would know." She's there thinking, what can I ask her? What can I ask her on the spot? Something that only she supposedly would know. Ask this woman outside, "The last time you went to your parents' house, what was the thing they changed about your bedroom?" There was a long pause, and the wife outside then goes, "Who is that? Is there someone else with you? Who's that there speaking?" She goes, "You're starting to freak me out. What is going on? Why are you not letting me inside?" At this point, the fake wife outside realizes she's actually speaking to the real wife inside. The husband and wife at this point are just like, "Answer the question, answer the damn question." And after another long pause, she answers the question, and correctly. The wife inside is absolutely terrified because only she is supposed to know about this. So she grabs her husband's hand and they run upstairs to go back to their bedroom and they lock themselves in the bedroom. They pull out the Ring doorbell app and they watch this woman outside that looks just like the wife walk off in the backyard. And they presume she's off to find the spare key. They're truly convinced at this point, if this woman knows all these personal questions about them, she will know where the spare key is. That's the story. It is terrifying, and it's so terrifying because I have a feeling that this was a Jinn pretending to be the wife, but this Jinn must have been watching them and must have been hanging around them for a long time, which is just terrifying to think. It is so scary. But let me know what you think about this story. Let me know what you think happened. If you think it must have been just a stranger that was pretending to be the wife trying to get in, or if you think it was some sort of paranormal activity.
Let me tell you about the time I had to live with a Jinn. So the story is set in 2018 New Year's Eve. I'm on a plane from Somalia to Djibouti. I was traveling with my cousin at the time, and we'll call her Marian, right? So Marian lives in Djibouti, and the plan was I was going to basically stay with her and her family. So we're on the plane and she told me some similarities and differences between Somalia and Djibouti. So one of the things that she tells me is how there are so many jinns in Djibouti. And I was like, okay, Mariam, nothing new. There's literally a lot of jinns in Somalia as well. It's literally Jinn Central. And she goes, Hinda, no, you don't understand. There are a lot of jinns, more than Somalia. In fact, there's a jinn living in my house, the one that I'm about to stay in. Now I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, okay, Mariam, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Because if I knew there was a jinn living in the house I'm about to stay in, do you think I would have gone? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Something else that Mariam tells me is that in Djibouti, sometimes the electricity just turns off for about 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know why they do this, but it's a whole country thing. Apparently the solar generator in Djibouti gets too hot, so they need to just shut down the electricity in some neighborhoods. It is what it is, all right? And I was like, okay, a little bit odd, but whatever. Fast forward, we arrive at the house. Now, I was staying in a room with Maria. This room also had an ensuite, so its own bathroom, basically. Now, in any other situation, I would have been so happy. I'm like, yes, I have my own private bathroom. I didn't have to go out and share with everyone in the house. But no, not this time. Because I know now that there's a jinn living in this house. You know where jinns like to live in? The toilet, the one that I'm right next to, okay? And at this point, I'm thinking, oh my god, imagine I'm sleeping one night and the door creaks open to the toilet and I see little eyes. Ah! I'm done. But I'm freaking out. Mariam tells me, like, don't worry, you're overreacting. This jinn hasn't caused issues in this house for a while. In fact, it just walks around, maybe it moves a couple of stuff here, turns some lights on, off and on, but it doesn't really attack or scare anyone. Okay, I said, okay, that doesn't help. Honestly, at that point, it did not help me at all. But I was like, let's just go with the flow. Let's just do it. It's now nighttime and I'm getting ready to go to bed, right? So I go into the ensuite so I can actually, do my bedtime routine. So I open the toilet door and I see the layout of the bathroom. Let me explain to you what I see. On the left-hand side, I see the toilet seat. And unlike any other toilet seat I've ever seen in my life, this one wasn't connected or next to any walls. It was just in the middle of the side. Then,
keep going.
And then you look to the right hand side of the bathroom and you see shower head, a little shelf that had like shampoo, conditioner, body wash like right under it, and then you had a hole in the ground. There weren't any like.
Wait, why is there a hole in the floor?
For the beer to go.
Oh, the drain.
This shower didn't have any walls around it, so there wasn't any glass or divider. It's just there. Also, something about this toilet is that there was no windows. It was just the only form of ventilation was a little hole in the wall, and it led out to the street. I go inside, close it up behind me, and walk to the toilet seat, sit down. A couple moments go past while I'm doing my business, and the lights go off. Guess right. The electricity off. I start freaking out. I'm like, oh my god. Guys, you need to understand, it was so pitch black. Whether you open your eyes, close your eyes, it was the same thing. It was so dark. I could wave my hand in front of my face, I wouldn't even see it. Now I'm in the dark and I'm just sitting like this because I'm so scared. And then I hear a sound. Mind you, I can't see anything. So this is everything I'm hearing. You know how I said on the other side of the bathroom there was the shower area and it had like a shelf under the shower head that had the shampoo and conditioners, all of that? Imagine someone absolutely smashes all the stuff off that shelf. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it just fell over, not like it toppled over. No. Someone aggressively smashed it across the bathroom. Don't forget, guys, there's no windows. So the wind couldn't have blown it over. Someone or something did that. Something has just smashed all the bottles at the other side of the toilet. It's pitch black. You don't know what it is and you know it's not the wind. I'll tell you what I did. I did nothing. I sat there. I looked to the side. And I started rocking more intensely. This is me now. I'm like this. You think I yelled? You think I was gonna yell out for Mariam? No. What if the thing that's in the bathroom with me gets angry and it starts beating me up? Have you ever gone beat up by a jinn? Neither did I, and I'm not planning to. I start thinking of all the possibilities that could happen, right? And I come to two conclusions. One, the jinn's gonna start talking to me. It's gonna start chatting to me. Well, not in that way, but maybe it's gonna tell me to get my ass up and walk out. Maybe it's going to give me a task like go kill someone. I don't know. This is what's going through my head right now. Now the second option, and at the time it felt like the better alternative, and I'll explain why. I thought it was going to possess me. Yep. The reason why I thought this was the better option is because if it possesses me, it's no longer my problem. I'm unconscious. You know whose problem it is though? Marian, that's outside the room. Yep. It's gonna be her problem because she's gonna have to witness me possessed, and she's gonna have to deal with that. Because I didn't want to be in that situation any longer than I already was. I wanted to leave, and if that meant going unconscious and getting possessed, then so be it. Alhamdulillah, neither of those happened, and I was able to finish my business, get up, and slowly walk out. I wasn't gonna run. No, what if it tripped me? I was not about to try that. Got up, slowly walked out, opened the door, got my ass out. And let me tell you guys, ever since that day, mind you, it was the first day I was there, I had never went inside that toilet. The whole month and a half I was in Djibouti, I never used the ensuite. It had given me a sign, and I was going to listen to it. That was my first experience with a jinn in Djibouti. Oh, thank you. Bye.
A girl called Ayla had a best friend that tried to send 5 jinns against her. Listen to this true shocking jinn story. Ayla had a best friend since secondary school, and they were close for years. They even chose to go to the same college and university together. There was one flaw about her best friend. Ayla was aware of this. That was extreme jealousy. Whenever she would get jealous, for example, when Ayla tries on a dress that suited her, the best friend would say she didn't like how it looked on her. She would be very direct, and then she would tell Ayla that she was the jealous one. So she would ask permission to pinch Ayla's arms to control her jealousy. Ayla thought to herself, maybe that's her best friend's way to deal with her jealousy. But now when Ayla looks back, she finds that she was in a toxic friendship, because surely that was not normal behavior. The amount of bruises Ayla had on her arms because of this one best friend. But Ayla felt naive for letting her so-called best friend treat her that way. But Ayla thought she was being a good friend. It all went downhill when they started university together. They met new friends from their lectures, their seminar classes. There was a good guy who is now Ayla's husband. He proposed to Ayla 5 months after they all started hanging out. And she did not know her best friend liked him too, because she never told Ayla. But her jealousy became dangerous. Whilst Ayla was only 1 week into her engagement with him, she started feeling a weird presence in her bedroom. As a Muslim, Ayla was aware of jinns. She did not want to think anything of it. The first incident was when Ayla went to the kitchen to wash the dishes. She felt someone hugging her from behind. But when she turned around, no one was there. The final incident was her last straw. Ayla woke up in the middle of the night in pain, and her bedding was covered in all over it. She was assaulted by a jinn. Her parents contacted the sheikh the next morning, and the sheikh came a day later. So she slept in her sister's room for 2 days. The following morning, the sheikh done ruqya on Ayla, and her whole body felt like it was burning. The sheikh looked so upset, and he told Ayla and her family that someone attempted to send 5 jinns to Ayla, but it failed. But black magic is there, and this one jinn is bothering Ayla. Ayla's family were so broken, and they had no idea who would do that to Ayla. She was scared because she was afflicted. She prayed mentally to be given some sort of sign. And a few hours later, Ayla got a text message from one of her friends showing her how her best friend was slandering her so much. The message was, this is what the text said. You know that Ayla accepted Kareem's proposal? He proposed to her today, and I had to find out from Snapchat. She didn't even tell me she knew exactly how I felt about him, the way he always used to look at me. And now all of a sudden they're getting married? LOL. I don't want to be friends with someone like that. She's a man stealer. She only thinks about herself. She's the most selfish person. Don't you think that's sneaky of her as a friend? When Ayla read those messages, her instincts exactly knew. Everything clicked. She knew it was her best friend who tried to harm her. Ayla and her family and the sheikh went to her best friend's house the next day just to ask why she would do that to Ayla. Her best friend starts crying, playing victim. Ayla's mother was fuming. She did not want to see any tears from her best friend. Ayla's parents and the sheikh asked the best friend where the black magic was. Her best friend admitted to everything, and she said it was in the garden under her mum's roses. This is what was found on the black magic. 1. Ayla's shirt that she borrowed from her. 2. Lemon. 3. Sanitary pads that looked like it was squeezed from it. 4. And 5. A picture of Ayla and her best friend, but she cut herself out of it. And 6. A piece of just Amma. Ayla's mum starts screaming. Her friend's parents were shocked, but they were angry at Ayla's family for shouting at their daughter. Ayla's father tried to calm Ayla down because she was having a panic attack. Ayla's sister got angry and beat up her best friend. It was a whole drama. The sheikh untied the black magic, but Ayla still had to do ruqya for 1 more week to be safe. From that day onwards, Ayla cut her best friend off completely. All their mutual friends stopped talking. Ayla's husband was disgusted. Ayla would see her around university and she would ignore her. Until this day, she has not spoken to her again. Sometimes Ayla catches her former best friend watching her Instagram stories from her fake accounts. Ayla just blocks them. Ayla thinks that she does not need any more evil eye from her former best friend. Now she's living her life happily married. The world deserves to know what she did and how jealousy can lead to shirk very easily. Be mindful who you trust. Remember, sugar and salt, they look the same, so tread carefully. Listen to your gut feeling. Allah has given you intuition. Use it wisely. Watch what people are doing around you, not just what they're saying. When words and actions are aligned, trust is affirmed.
Another scary story. Make sure you're following me for all these scary stories. So this one comes from Bangladesh. I was 12 years old when I went to Bangladesh for a vacation. My cousin, who was younger than me, were playing around and it was nighttime. There was no adults around as they trusted us to be alone at 12 years old. Well, I guess if you're in a room, that's fine. But anyways, so we decided to go around to our local park. Okay, letting you go alone and not even asking. My parents would give us like shit there. My parents would give us the beats if we went anywhere by ourselves outside. So we got to our local park and we were really into horror stuff. So we started playing around like we were a ghost. So we started pushing the swing and making it look like there was someone on it. But then we got really tired. So we got tired and we weren't bothered to go home. I don't know what the F was wrong with us. So we slept under a tree. Oh my gosh. I would never sleep under a tree. Trees sometimes, like certain trees, like banyan trees, they creep me out. Anyways, so I woke up a little bit later. And when I woke up, my cousin wasn't next to me, which freaked me out. So I went around the lake, I went around the park, and I was checking for her and I couldn't find her anywhere. As I was looking around the lake, of course, when you look into the lake, you can see your reflection. Although when I looked down into the lake, I didn't see my reflection. I saw a tall lady with long black hair standing above me. But I looked behind and there was no one. So I ran back home. And when I got home, my parents and my cousin were standing in front of the door. They were looking down and their feet were sideways. I didn't know if that was normal. At first, I thought I was dreaming or having hallucinations. So I smacked myself, but then I realized it was real. I fainted and woke up to see my parents crying in an ambulance and rushing me inside towards the hospital. And when this was happening, I could faintly see the lady that I had saw near the lake. My dad said he had experienced something similar when he was younger in the same area. There was a lady always following him and he thought he was also dreaming. Anyways, I was fine afterwards. I was super ill for a little while, but I made full recovery. Oh my God, girl. Thank God you made full recovery. Don't ever go out to a lake or a park at night without any adults. Oh, that was scary. Send me more, guys. These are too good.
Trigger warning, please don't watch this alone at night or in the dark, and please read Ayatul Kursi because I don't want to be responsible for any hauntings. Jinns are supernatural creatures from Arabic mythology, said to have the power of free will, so their personalities can vary greatly. Some being decent, some being neutral, and others being evil. Jinns allegedly have the ability to shapeshift and appear as humans if they wanted to, or even animals. There's this guy, he was born in the United States and he was raised in a community and a family who believed in the supernatural and jinns. The community believes that children have the ability to sense supernatural activity that us adults do not have the ability to see or sense, or that we choose to ignore. In the summer of 2009, this guy and his family travelled back home to Iraq. A few years after the war was quote unquote over. So this guy's dad has not seen his side of his family for over 20 years, and he thought this is the perfect time to bring his family to Iraq so his children can learn about the culture and meet his side of the family. However, Iraq in 2009 was hot, had no electricity, and had a lot of terror groups running around. Besides all of this, this guy was still excited to go to Iraq to see and explore his culture and meet his family. One day, he was getting ready to go visit his family member. He was with two of his cousins, one was 4 years old and the other was only 2. To reach his family member's home, they had to pass this abandoned house that the local residents and communities called the Jinn house. Multiple families have attempted to move in and live in this Jinn house. They were either scared out of the house or a tragedy would appear which would force them to move. The last tenants who lived in that house suffered a lot. At first, little things would happen, like they would wake up and they'll find their TV set completely flipped upside down, but then it started to progress. Every other morning they'd wake up to their furniture being moved outside of the house. But then the youngest son began sleepwalking. In the night he would wake up and walk to the cemetery and back. He had no idea he was doing this. One night while sleepwalking, the boy picked up a gun and shot one of his sisters dead. The house then caught on fire and the family had to run out. The boy does not remember anything and the remaining sister is medically insane. Anyways, back to this guy who had his 2 little cousins who started to walk past this house. This was the only way he knew at the time to get to his family member's house where he was trying to go. And he had his 2-year-old cousin in his arms. As he was walking past this house, he did not want to look because he was terrified and he felt a really bad energy. Something made him look. He glanced at the house. All the windows were busted and the house was surrounded in trash with TV sets and bin bags and just covered all in trash. And what he saw next, the roof of the house, he could only describe this thing that he saw that had a body of a donkey and was sitting like a cat. When he saw this creature, then both of his little cousins started screaming at the same time. The 2-year-old was in his arms facing his chest, so there was no way this kid saw what this guy was seeing. This guy's brain could not physically compute what he was saying. And then this creature started to stand up, and that's when he grabbed his 4-year-old cousin and just started to bolt and run as fast as he can away from this creature. To this very day, this guy, oh my god. Oh, this is why I don't film this stuff. Okay, I'm getting scared, but anyways, this guy does not speak about this because his brain physically cannot compute like what he saw, but he knows it's something above like human understanding. I'm getting really scared now, so I'm gonna go. But let me guys know what you think this was, if it was like a jinn as an animal or if his mind was just playing tricks on him.
This is a true story of a woman that ended up attending a jinn-filled wedding without realizing it. This story took place in 1997 in the city of Kuwait. At that time, Nora was a part of a very popular band that played at many weddings, formal events, and parties. One day, just like any other day, Nora received a phone call from a person requesting for them to play at their wedding. Back then, weddings in Kuwait were normally hosted in people's homes. Nora didn't think anything of it, so she accepted it and everything seemed normal, or so she thought. Once they arrived to the mansion, they realized that this was a beautiful, expensive mansion. They pretty much just thought to themselves, oh well, just another day of us playing for rich people, and went and knocked on the door. They were quickly let in by this woman who told them to sit in the living room and just wait. As they sat down, a woman came to greet Nora. When Nora went to give her a kiss on the cheek, she felt like the woman's cheek was extremely hot to the touch, almost like she had a really high fever. Nora decided to brush it off and just proceed with the night. 30 minutes after they arrived, the band began to play. Once the band began to play, Nora and her band members became frightened. The people from this wedding were dancing so abnormally that it was sending chills down their spine. They also noticed that a lot of them had an abnormally amount of body hair. Then they noticed as one of the ladies lifted up her skirt and she actually had hooves for feet. Quick little side note, a Jinn can transform themselves into pretty much anything. The only thing they can't really change about themselves is their feet. At this point, the band is getting ready to get the heck out of there, but they didn't want to draw any suspicious because they were afraid as to what may happen if they were discovered. They then see as the bride and groom enter the room and they sit in front of this bizarre looking demonic statue. Not more than 5 minutes after the bride and groom enter the room, the lights go out and the whole place goes completely pitch black. They see this as their chance to get away, so they run off the stage, grab any little belongings they could gather, and they run out of the house. As they're running, Nora happens to look back and sees that what was once a beautiful mansion is now an old abandoned shack. Being that it was not 3 a.m., it wasn't the normal to see a bunch of females running in the street late at night. A man happened to come across them and asked them what was wrong. One of the bandmates, completely out of breath, responds with, "That house, it's filled with jinns." The man goes, "That house has been abandoned for years. What were you guys doing in there?" The bandmate responded with, "It wasn't abandoned when we were in there." The man ended up calming them down and giving them a ride home. That was the very last event that Nora and her band ever played. The band retired after this.
Scary story time from when I was in college. I went to college in a super small town in western Pennsylvania, like right over the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. And when I mean small, I mean small. Like the college students being there took up the majority of the town, and the college itself was only like 2,000 people. So super tiny, but beautiful area, lots of woods, lots of trees, lots of nature, gorgeous place, just extremely small town. One night, me and some other girls were in someone's room and just like swapping scary stories. And a girl said that she had a story that her sorority big told her. She said that another girl in her sorority, an older girl, had moved into the town after graduating, just like stayed put, got married and had a kid, and she asked this girl's big to babysit for her one night at their house. So the girl gets to the house. It's like all the other houses in this town. There's so many super old houses, like from the Civil War. I mean, very, very old homes there, and this is one of those older homes. So I mean, easily, I think she said like well over like 120-year-old house. The house was old, like cute, but kind of creepy, and was surrounded on like, I think she said 3 sides by like a lot of woods, and then the backyard backed up to the woods as well. She got there, the parents had already put the baby to bed. I think the baby was like 1 or 2 years old. And they're like, okay, like call us if you need anything, you know, watch TV, eat, drink, whatever you want, see you in a bit. So she's hanging out watching TV. And she said that as she's watching the TV, she sees a shadow go past the 2 windows. She's like, okay, I mean, that's kind of creepy, but, you know, we're by the woods. Could have been an owl, could be anything. Shadow, car driving by. A little bit later, she sees the shadow, but go in the opposite direction by the windows. She's like a little creeped out, like kind of pauses the show, like listens to hear if she hears anything outside, wondering like, you know, is she imagining this or not? And ultimately was like, don't be a baby, just keeps watching the show. And then she sees the shadow pass by the window a 3rd time. And at that point she was like, no, I'm calling somebody. Like I said, this is a super small town, so the police have nothing else to do. They turned up immediately. 2 police officers, they came in, they were talking to her in the living room, and she said, I think there's someone like prowling around the yard here. I don't know if it's like a peeping Tom looking in the windows, but like I'm here by myself with this baby, and there's somebody outside. So the police are like, you know, we looked around outside. We don't like see any footprints. Like we don't see any signs of like someone trying to enter in. There's no weird cars parked on the road. You know, did you see there's a baby here? She says, yeah, the baby's upstairs. And the one cop's like, okay, well, let me go just like check around upstairs. Like go check on the baby. So at this point, the girl's like feeling kind of stupid because she's like, there's nothing outside. Like, is this house haunted? Like what the hell's going on? Then as she's standing there talking to the one cop and the other cop is upstairs, they suddenly hear like a commotion, like yelling, banging, shouting. you know, stuff crashing around upstairs. The other police officer starts yelling for help. He runs up there too. And it turns out there was a man hiding in the baby's nursery. A man. So the shadows that she was seeing passing by the window weren't from outside the window. The man had been walking back and forth behind the sofa while she was watching TV. That story gave me chills back when I first heard it originally, and it still freaks me out now. I'll always say that things that are humans scare me a lot more than things that are paranormal. So yeah, I'm gonna go watch The Office now. Have a good night.
This is a true horrifying story, part 8. This story took place with a Muslim man in the early 2000s in a small village in Sudan. To Muslim and non-Muslim viewers, let me explain what a ghost is in our religion. In Islam, we do not believe in people's spirits. The beings that haunt us are not bad souls of dead people. We refer to them as jinns. They are paranormal beings that live among us, but on a different plane, if that makes sense. They live in their own world. They get married to one another, males and females. There are old jinns, there are younger ones, there are good ones and also bad ones. The bad ones, who are the disbelievers, are known as the shaitans, in English, Satans. There are Muslim jinns, there are Christian jinns, there are weak ones, strong ones, dumb ones, and very smart ones. There are different types of jinns, such as the afrit, the khubth and the khaba'ith, the ghols, and the shapeshifters. The shapeshifting jinns have the ability to completely shapeshift into human form or specific animals, such as black cats, lizards, spiders, and more. In their world, they can see us, but we cannot see them. A Sudanese man that lives and studies in Europe visited his family in one of the Islamic occasions in Sudan. He's not really a big fan of the area he lives in, knowing that a few spots there are haunted by jinns. He has bad childhood memories of seeing figures, listening to kids playing late at night, and hearing strange animal noises. For the first time ever, this man might have seen a jinn closest to its real form, but not quite. The only way you can see a jinn is if the jinn shapeshifted. And sometimes the shapeshifting process is not quite accurate. The animal or the human form might have some faults. On one of the late nights, this man was outside smoking a cigarette, and he started hearing stray dogs barking. Minute by minute, the barks would get more aggressive. He sees a strange looking black animal that looks like a dog. He notices the stray dogs around this animal are barking at this dog specifically. The animal was moving towards him slowly, staring deep into his eyes. The man froze from fear and drops his cigarette. As the animal kept getting closer, it started looking different step by step. Its size started increasing, its eyes began diluting, and its arms was getting bulkier. He wanted to say the prayers to make it go away, but something was stopping him. This animal kept coming a few feet closer, and then the man saw it clearly. It had arms that looked like human arms, a face of a goat, and a body of a bulky dog. The animal stood up on both legs, and the man shouted the prayer. It drops down and shapeshifts into a small black cat and sprints away. Do jinns actually look like that, the way this author described? Or was that a shapeshifting fault?
Grab a blanket and a snack. Me and my sister girl here have another scary story time for you. So we're gonna call her Sam. Sam just bought a beautiful new Victorian home. It is obviously very old, but very beautiful. She said that it had some things that need to be repaired, but for the most part, it's just gorgeous. So she's exploring her new home. I mean, like I would do. She goes up to the attic and she sees this old, like, antique mirror. It's got the wooden frame and it's got the floral, like, carvings, but it was covered up in the attic. Now, she did say she felt kind of uneasy about it, but it was so beautiful that she just ignored that feeling, which you should never do. And she took it downstairs to set it up. So she set it up in her living room, and she said nothing really happened the first night. Everything was relatively normal, and then small things started to happen. One night she was watching TV, and she just like glanced into the mirror, and she said the reflection of the room behind her in the mirror looked way darker than what it should have, and when she turned around to look, it
was bright and lit. But this was a really small thing, and she's like, okay, it's probably just the way the mirror looks or how it reflects, or it's just like a trick of the light. So she ignored it. Well, when she went to bed, she heard scratching coming from the living room, almost like something was being dragged on wooden floors. But she was thinking that maybe it was just the house settling. I mean, it's an old house. And she also was like, maybe I left a window open somewhere. So she goes and checks all the windows in the living room where the sound's coming from, and they're all closed. And then over the next few days, things just gradually get more active, which is pretty typical for a haunting or any kind of haunted object. They start small. So then one morning she wakes up and goes into the living room, and the mirror is like tilted all of a sudden, and there's no one else in the house to tilt it. But again, she wrote it off. She's like, maybe it just, I don't know, tilted on its own, like it just kind of slid over a little bit or something. But then she came home from work one night and looked at herself in the mirror, as we do when we see a mirror, and she said her reflection looked off. Her face looked pale in the mirror, and her eyes looked really dark, almost black. And it felt like her reflection was watching her rather than her looking at herself. She also said that when she would move or when she glanced away, that there was almost a lag in her reflection following, doing what she was doing. So that's really weird. Because of these occurrences, she really couldn't sleep. She would wake up feeling exhausted. She was having nightmares when she did sleep. And then she started to see a figure standing behind her when she would look in the mirror. So aside from the terrifying visuals she's getting in this mirror, she has also the typical signs of something dark being in your home, like your lights flickering, the energy feeling dark and oppressive, shadow figures, footsteps, all the signs that something not good has been activated in this home. And common denominator here is the freaking mirror. So finally she's like, it's the mirror, it has to go. And she ends up taking it off the wall and dragging it out back to her trash bin and puts it in her trash bin. She said that the house felt better at first and everything was good until one night she hears scratching at her window, and she looks outside, and the mirror was no longer in the trash can. It was leaning up against the window where she was hearing the scratching. So maybe let's not mess with old, covered up, hidden, tucked away items.
I have another Jinn story time which will forever terrify me because Jinns are 100% real. For the sake of the story, we're going to call her Riley. Riley grew up in Somali. One night she was having a sleepover with a bunch of her friends. The night went on as you would expect. The girls did like your typical like sleepover activities when out of nowhere they felt like something in the air was just off. The air just felt thick around them and they just felt like they were being watched. And then even though it was warm outside, in the bedroom where they were in, it was extremely cold. Things started to get really weird when Riley looked at her phone and noticed that even though she was at full battery, her phone went completely dead. Then one of the girls saw a shadow like dart across the room. Then the lights began to flicker and the girls just kind of stood there silent, like trying to figure out what was going on, when one of the girls just quietly whispered, "We're not alone." They all stood still as they felt this presence like right behind them, like watching them. Riley still tried to brush it off until she looked down at her phone that happened to turn on for a split second just for it to show a message from her brother that said, "Get out of your room, there's something in there with you." Riley's heart started to race. She got up and told the rest of the girls, so they all got up and tried to make their way out the front door. When they went to open the door would not open, even though like it wasn't even locked. For whatever reason, something was holding it shut. Then they started to hear the whispers. At first, the whispers sounded extremely low, but they slowly grew louder and louder. Riley couldn't really understand what the whispers were saying, but they sounded extremely ancient and scary. All of the girls stood there terrified when Riley remembered what her grandmother always used to tell her, that if she ever were to encounter a Jinn, to pray, to recite the Quran, and to let it know that it wasn't welcomed. With her voice shaking but firm, Riley started to recite the Quran, and as she did, the air in the room started to lift up and everything felt lighter. Then out of nowhere, the door just opened. The girls were too terrified to even look behind them to see what was going on, so they just completely opened up the rest of the door and ran out of the room. After that experience, the girls were too terrified to even talk about it, so decided to kind of just leave it behind them. But ever since that experience, anytime that Riley is home alone, she would start to slowly hear the whispers starting up in the corners of her room. Anytime that happens, she starts to recite the Quran, and it typically stops. Unfortunately, that wasn't the last of the jinns that Riley ever encountered. After that experience, her mom and grandmother ended up passing away. They had absolutely no health issues, but as far as Riley knows, her experience with the jinn may have caused her mom and grandmother's demise.